final story, originally intended to close off Doctor Who's 7th season, was The Mists of Madness from writer Brian Wright. Some months later, though, he jumped ship on the episode when he accepted an academic writing post in Bristol, meaning he couldn't complete his script. With a now empty slot, script editor Terence Dicks approached husband and wife writing team Charlotte and Dennis Plimmer to write The Shadow People, but was subsequently abandoned due to a paid dispute between the Plimmers and the BBC. The other option was for Dicks to approach an old colleague of his, Don Horton, who had previously worked on Crossroads with Terence Dicks. Horton found his idea from an American project to drill more than 5 kilometres through the Earth's mantle in the Pacific Ocean. The project was soon abandoned, and Horton rang the American embassy to inquire why, but the information couldn't be revealed as it was top secret. Seriously, look this mission up, it was real. The story then went ahead with a working title of The Mole Hole Project in November 1969. Other working titles included Operation Mole Bore and The Mole Bore. Producer Barry Letts requested that there be a monster for the Doctor to face, resulting in the inclusion of the Primords, and a type of alien karate for the Doctor to use in hand-to-hand combat. Originally titled Feltian, it was then changed to Venusian Karate. Veteran Doctor Who director Douglas Camfield was assigned to direct and made the decision to have the Primords appear as werewolves rather than ape-like creatures as they were written in the script. It was also Camfield's decision to bring back John Levine as Sergeant Benton, who, as a newcomer to the acting business, would be able to show off his versatility as an actor. Think of it this way, he plays Benton from our universe, Benton in the parallel universe, and a Primord. And now that I think about it, he was playing the good, the bad, and the ugly. But I think John Levine owes a lot to Camfield, as he gave him the opportunity to show off his range all in one story. I wish all directors were like that. In late February, the story was retitled to Project Inferno, and it was around this time that Barry Letts was informed by the BBC that the 7th season had been successful enough to be renewed for an 8th season, with John Pertwee and Nicholas Courtney being contracted as regulars. Sadly, one regular who would not be returning was Caroline John as Liz Shaw, as Letts felt that the character was not suitable enough to be a surrogate for the audience, and by coincidence Caroline John was now pregnant and would not likely have been available for season 8 anyway. Location filming began at the end of March, with the only venue being used was Bury Wiggins & Co., an oil refinery situated near Strood in Kent, which served as the Inferno drill compound for both universes, and filming lasted until April 3rd. On the final day, however, an accident occurred when Pertwee, driving Bessie, hit stuntman Alan Chunce while recording the chase scene. Chunce needed 18 stitches in his leg but was determined to return to work and not let it deter John Pertwee, who felt massively guilty about it. First recording session covered Thursday, April 23rd and Friday the 24th and was devoted to episodes 1 and 2. However, because so much of these instalments had been completed on film, Camfield elected to use the first day entirely for camera rehearsals, confining recording only to the Friday. Unfortunately, things didn't go well on this day. John Pertwee would not follow Douglas Camfield's directions, and when the star argued with production assistant Chris Doyley-John, an irate Douglas Camfield descended from the production gallery, forcing Sheila Dunn, his wife, to intervene and persuade John Pertwee to comply. Things would come to a head during rehearsals on episode 3, at the start of the following week. By this time, Caroline John was also unhappy because Courtney had convinced Douglas Camfield and Barry Letts that it should be the brigade leader who interrogates the Doctor in Part 3, rather than section leader Shaw. As tensions were mounting on the 27th of April, Douglas Camfield collapsed during rehearsals, forcing production assistant Chris Doyley-John to summon Barry Letts. Sheila Dunn, Douglas Camfield's wife, revealed that her husband was suffering from a heart murmur, and it was agreed that Camfield should be removed from Inferno to safeguard his health, and he even insisted that he go on, despite looking like absolute death apparently. Letts' first inclination was to hire a new director to finish the story, but because Camfield had already completed much of the planning for the final 5 episodes, Barry Letts decided to take over directing the story himself, as he had previously helmed The Enemy of the World 2 years earlier. With Barry Letts now in charge, recording resumed on May 7th and 8th, which were again a Thursday and Friday. Work on these concentrated on episodes 3 and 4, as well as some material from Part 6. Exactly 2 weeks later, episode 5 was taped alongside the remainder of episode 6 over May 21st and May 22nd. John Pertwee had a rare opportunity to play a different role during this recording session, as he pre-recorded the announcer's voice, performed in an imitation of Nazi propagandist William Joyce, heard over the brigade leader's radio in episode 5. Cast and crew then returned to Studio 3 for the final episode, which was taped on Friday, May 29th, 1970, completing both the serial and the recording block. In post-production, however, Barry Letts became concerned that Pertwee's voice on the radio was too recognisable and cut this segment from episode 5. However, it would be retained on the print sold internationally, and you can even find it on the DVD release. Inferno also marked the end of Caroline John's regular involvement in Doctor Who, and the start of a lengthy hiatus in her acting career while she basically retired to raise her family with husband Geoffrey Beevers. Caroline John returned to the acting profession in the early 80s with an appearance in the Barry Letts produced version of The Hound of the Baskervilles, starring 4th Doctor Tom Baker as Sherlock Holmes. She also reprised her role as Liz on several occasions, on TV in both The Five Doctors and Dimensions in Time, and in the Probe direct-to-video series. She made her debut with Big Finish Productions playing Madame Salvador in the 7th Doctor audio drama Dust Breeding, before making several appearances as Liz for the company in their Companion Chronicles range, beginning with The Bluetooth. Caroline John continued to appear in a variety of television and movie projects, such as the feature film Love Actually, prior to her death from cancer on June 5, 2012. The story begins with UNIT providing security cover at an experimental drilling project designed to penetrate the Earth's crust and release an untapped source of energy. Soon, however, the drill head starts to leak an oily green liquid that transforms those who touch it into vicious primeval creatures with a craving for heat. The Doctor is accidentally transported by the partially repaired TARDIS console into a parallel universe where the drilling project is at a more advanced stage. Thwarted by his friends' ruthless alter egos, the Doctor works to save both universes as the Earth begins to scream. 7 years into Doctor Who's history, and they finally tackle the idea of parallel universes. But Season 7 made a point of pushing those boundaries and tackling new ideas and themes, despite being entirely set on Earth. Inferno has earned a well-earned reputation as one of the best Third Doctor stories, and I most certainly agree. If you saw my top 5 Third Doctor stories video, which incidentally you can find right here, please give it a watch. In keeping with Season 7's tone, this is one of the darker stories in Doctor Who's history, and in my opinion, it's all the better for it. Jon Pertwee is simply phenomenal in this story, and I think this is the Third Doctor at his most vulnerable, despite being one of the more suave and confident incarnations. He really is put through hell in this story. He's surrounded by authority figures like Professor Stahlman, who won't listen to him. Then while trying to get his TARDIS working, he's thrown into a parallel universe where the UK is a fascist dictatorship and all of his allies like Liz Shaw and the Brigadier are evil and ruthless. To add to his problems, the drilling project on the parallel Earth reaches penetration point and the Earth is about to become a fiery ball of flame as it was billions of years ago. While the Doctor is put through hell, Pertwee maintains his confidence throughout, and it still fits the story. It doesn't make the threat the Doctor goes through irrelevant or undermines it in any way, but it gives us confidence and reassurance in the Doctor's character, that he's the most intelligent man in the room, and you don't deny for a second that he's the Doctor. My Jon Pertwee moment of the week is easily the cliffhanger to part 4. Trapped in a parallel Earth and seconds to go before they reach the Earth's core, the Doctor shouts for them to stop the drilling before it's too late, and that the Earth is screaming its rage at them. Pertwee is simply brilliant here. There's so much conviction in his delivery, but the reason this is my favourite moment is, despite being a scientist, it shows that the Doctor has his limits when it comes to interfering with nature, and the Doctor stands up for all living things, even planets that can't really speak to us. Throughout Season 7, Pertwee proved to be a very worthy successor to Patrick Troughton, and I think his performance was the main reason Doctor Who was able to survive into the 1970s. Caroline John gives one last great performance as Liz Shaw, though I personally feel that the real Liz Shaw doesn't really get much to do in this story. She spends most of the story just waiting for the Doctor to come back. However, her performance as Section Leader Shaw in the parallel universe is really good. She makes the two versions very distinct from one another. I really like the arc the parallel Liz undergoes. She starts off as someone who blindly follows orders and believes in the system that she's serving. However, once the Doctor arrives and the energies of the Earth's core are released, she becomes a better person and helps the Doctor to save our own Earth. And I like how she willingly helps the Doctor, knowing that it will do nothing to help her, and even though the brigade leader demands that the Doctor save them as well, she shoots him, as the Doctor says that the consequences will be disastrous if their parallel selves met one another. She sees that the Doctor has been right about all the events that occurred, so she trusts him to leave them behind, basically to burn to death and save the Earth. Coming back to our Earth, I do find it a shame that Liz was never really given a goodbye scene, and the only explanation of why she left is because she was tired of passing the Doctor test tubes and telling him how brilliant he is. I mean, I call bullshit on that, because Liz was a great companion and did far more than that. Nicholas Courtney is also fantastic as the Brigadier and the Brigade Leader. As the Brigadier, like Liz, he doesn't have much to do other than simply wait for the Doctor to come back. However, I do like how he does show concern for the Doctor's safety, and it really shows how their relationship has grown over Season 7. As the Brigadier, I love the moment when he orders Benton to get Professor Stahlman even when he refuses. I love the "a chance to use your initiative, Sergeant." It shows the Brigadier isn't messing around when it comes to disobeying orders. As for the Brigade Leader, he's also fantastic and comes across as genuinely terrifying. He shouts a lot, and this could have easily come across as hammy or too over the top, but Nicholas Courtney absolutely pulls it off. When he's interrogating the Doctor, he's genuinely intimidating and very clearly an extremely dangerous man. Unlike Liz Shaw, the Brigade Leader isn't really changed by the Doctor's presence, and if Liz becomes more accepting of her fate, the Brigade Leader becomes increasingly desperate and as savage as the Primords, despite not turning into one himself. When you think about it, he's given a quick death rather than being burnt alive when shot in the back by Liz Shaw. Nicholas Courtney is simply amazing in both roles, and there's a good reason why Inferno is his favourite story. The supporting cast in this are also great. Olaf Pooley as Professor Stahlman is more or less your typical mad scientist, but the performance is still strong as you really grow to hate how the man just won't listen to anyone. Furthermore, he slowly becomes a Primord over the course of the story, and his obsession to see the drilling project succeed just exacerbates the problem. Derek Newark as Greg Sutton is also really good, as he feels like the most down-to-earth character amongst all the madness. I love his clashes with Stahlman, even saying he can blow himself to Kingdom Come. He doesn't use scientific words, he basically says how it is and doesn't care what people think of his opinion. I like how his parallel version clashes with the dictatorship he lives in, thinking it's all pointless even when the world is going up in flames, and even helps the Doctor to get back to his own Earth, even if it means he has no hope of survival. But I even like how accepting he is of the apocalypse and chooses to spend it as far away from the compound as possible. I do like his relationship with Petra, played by Sheila Dunn. At the start, she's pretty much a passive character, following orders from Stahlman and never questioning him. However, Greg convinces her to open her mind and not just be a mindless zombie to a fascist dictatorship. Petra is probably the most scared when it comes to the Earth going up in flames, but she doesn't just scream in terror, and she helps the Doctor fix the TARDIS so he can get back to our Earth. Christopher Benjamin as Sir Keith is also great. He's more or less the lighter version of Stahlman. He is passionate about the drilling project, but when things become dangerous, he will find a way to put a stop to it if he can. Also, he's totally a descendant of Henry Gordon Jago from the Talons of Weng-Chiang. Performances from every actor, I think, are brilliant. They are all on top form here. In fact, one recurring aspect I like from all of them is that they all have to shout because the drilling is so loud and is constantly in the background as noise. It's such a small touch, but it works so well to add to the enormity of the situation, and just top marks to all the actors for being able to pull it off so well. Primords themselves have come under their fair share of criticism from audiences and fans. Some feel that they look too silly or weren't needed as a monster, as the Earth blowing up was more than enough for a threat. Me personally, I think the makeup work is really good, and I love how they look like werewolves. The only part of the makeup that I think lets it down are the fake teeth. Yeah, they look like vampire teeth you'd find in the Halloween section at Asda. But their growls and sound effects are pretty good. They sound similar to the way the Earth Scream sound effect is used that Stahlman hears in his head. We don't know much about the Primords, but I personally think that they inhabited the Earth when it was too hot for humans to live in billions of years ago, and I think that's what makes them all the more terrifying. The scientists think that they'll move forward and revolutionise science as we know it, but we're simply going to regress back to the primordial slime. I doubt the Primords are going to go down as memorable monsters, but they're still effective as a monster of the week type villain. Production-wise, this story gets top marks for pretty much everything. The location work is absolutely brilliant, and it's great that the stunt team took full advantage of it. The falls and jumps are incredible, and there was no CGI back then, so all the jumps you see, they were 100% real. The location is just so dank and miserable, and you genuinely believe that the end of the world could occur here. Camfield really knows how to make the compound look gigantic, and there's many a reason why he's my favourite director of Doctor Who. The music is also pretty interesting, as this was the last story to use stock music as opposed to a composer writing original music. It works well in the chase scene, as it adds to the confusion the Doctor must be feeling when waking up from materialising and finding people shooting at him. However, a lot of the time music isn't used, but I think that's a good thing, as it adds to the realism of the Earth ending and going up in flames, and sometimes you don't need dramatic music to enhance the drama. The actors' performances is sometimes more than enough. The CSO effects are dodgy in areas, but its use in the episode 6 cliffhanger is pretty effective, as the lava crawls towards the hut, and it's such an amazing cliffhanger. The drill head set is pretty good as well, and certainly feels enormous and is really effective. The sound effects are great, especially the ringing that Stallman hears when he slowly becomes a Primord. It's like the primordial Earth is waking up and ready to burn the Earth once more, and it's chilling to listen to. If there's anything I don't like about Inferno, it's the final episode where I think the tension kind of deflates for me. We spend episodes 5 and 6 seeing the consequences of humanity's actions, but the tension kind of goes when we go back to our own world. Plus we can kind of predict that the Doctor will stop the drilling before it's too late. But if anything, I'm just nitpicking. I still think Inferno is phenomenal. So, to conclude, Inferno is a tension-filled, excellently acted, darkly themed story with great characters and brilliant pacing. This is one of those stories that I could watch from start to finish and never feel bored by it. It's wonderfully grim and dark, and it's such an edge-of-your-seat type of story, and is easily the best story from the Third Doctor's era. Well everyone, that's all from me. I hope you enjoyed the video. Be sure to like, share and subscribe. Let me know in the comments below what you think of Inferno. Is it your favourite Third Doctor story? And if not, what is? I hope you enjoyed looking back on Season 7 as much as I have, because it's been great. And I shall see you all next time for more videos. Goodbye.